When we look at the AAA market, we're seeing fewer and fewer games being released. How does that impact the necessity for a game to be an extreme hit these days, even more so than any time in the past in the game industry?
Well, listen, I think if you're a game maker, it puts a very strong impetus on delivering hits, more often than not. There was a time whereby if you could sell 1 million units, you had a hit. And you'd sell, 10 or 12 of those types of games a year that would make up, 1 million units each for a total of 12 million units. And that was a pretty good balance. And if you had 3 or 4 that just bombed, that was okay. In a world where hit games are selling 25 and 30 million units now, and that's the success criteria of the future, and you have to invest at a level that generates that kind of engagement at a gamer level, yeah, you needed to hit more often than it doesn't. And so I do think it puts a greater pressure on us as game makers. But listen, the Hollywood, movie industry has dealt with this for many, many years. The music business has dealt with this for many, many years. And here's what happens in that environment because, for some companies, they might not want to take risks. You get this really cool kind of indie culture, this burgeoning indie culture that comes out and takes risks and really pushes the industry forward and generates an environment where everybody has to push harder and push longer, even though they really need that product to be a hit.
And speaking of hits, Titanfall stands out not only because of its innovations, but because it is a brand new IP. When you look at this industry today, it seems like it's very much sequel and franchise driven. What are the challenges of introducing something new, given everything we just discussed?
Listen, the world is very sequel and franchise driven. So think about, movies, how many iterations of movies you've watched. How many seasons of the same TV show that you watch. We as human beings, for better or worse, as consumers of entertainment, kind of converge on things we know. We converge on characters that we understand, plot lines that we feel engaged by. And so the gaming industry is no different. It's not just that companies are driving to develop, multiple iterations of a particular IP or a particular storyline. It's because, we as human beings kind of converge on that. And so, to break out from that is challenging. But what I would say is if you can create a culture whereby, you have that right blend at a business level, you can get some really cool stuff. And things like Titanfall are born whereby, we had the opportunity to work with an amazing development team in Respawn Entertainment who had this vision for what they wanted to create, and we were able to help facilitate that through a really strong partnership and an amazing team who have done amazing things. And what you will see then is that will create the next great franchise. But there will be more than one Titanfall. And that's because that once we as human beings find things we like, we kind of stick with them. I watched every episode of Seinfeld over and over and over again for the best part of a decade. Not because I didn't want to watch other things, but because I really liked it. And for us as game makers, we've got to really challenge the status quo, and we can't not listen to consumers who want to play the next Battlefield or the next FIFA, but at the same time we have a responsibility to drive the industry forward, and the only thing that does that is new IP.
What do you feel you've learned from working within the EA Sports realm, where they have to have a new game out every season that you can apply to things like we've just discussed with innovation and original IP?
Listen, innovation comes in kind of two formats, right? So it's doing something completely new or a completely new thing, or it's doing something you've always done in a completely new way. And I think what the sports business helped me appreciate over many, many years is that, listen, people watch and engage in sport every year. They've been watching soccer and football and baseball for 100 years. And the fundamental rule set hasn't changed, but the experience changes as athletes get better. And broadcasting gets better and access gets better. And sports video games through innovation, the FIFA team, that's a highly rated product. And it is so not because they've changed the rules of soccer, but they've changed how you play soccer. And they've done it year in, year out for the best part of 7 or 8 years now. And so I think what that's given me an appreciation for is I'm not always looking for the completely new thing, although that's going to be very important for us, but I'm also looking for people who can do something that we may have already done in a completely new way, and that can be as compelling to a gaming audience as that completely new thing.